On August 7th, 2007, Corryn Veronica Ann Rayney goes to Kings Park in Perth, Australia. Unbeknownst to her husband, Lloyd, she never returns from her Western line dancing class. 7 days later, she is found upside down, head first, in a shallow grave. You're listening to the Mysterious Brews podcast, and tonight we bring you the story of Corryn Rayney. Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Georgia. We're welcoming Mr. Rob back from Cigar Store Idiots. Rob, how you doing this evening?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back. I had a ball last time.
I did too, man.
I'm glad to get back in here and do it again.
We had some good feedback on our Black Cat episode. We got some conversation started. I've got plenty of messages from people all over the place, even as far as Australia. Miss Cody Ryan commented and said that she knew of some people down there in Australia that had black cat sightings. And so I think the general consensus from our fans were it's probably the illegal pet trade.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
And
how crazy is it that Australia is so isolated, like on the other side of the lower part of the world, and they have the same issue. So that's got to be what it is.
Yeah, and it's not like the flushing alligators down the toilet in the
They ain't swimming to Australia. I'm going to tell you right now, that ain't happening.
No, they ain't. Oh, man. But that was a good episode. I got a lot of good feedback. We did have a 5-star review. I do not have the user of such, but it says the title was Best Podcast Ever. 5 stars. This is my favorite podcast I have ever listened to. If I could give it 10 stars out of 10, I would. I recommend this podcast to anyone who listens to podcasts, even if they don't like true crime. I started listening to the Aaron Hedges Missing 411 case, and I have been hooked since. Arlo and the coach are awesome and have an awesome friendship and remind me of my family. Well, that's probably not good if we remind your family, especially if you're from the South.
That was sweet.
Aaron Hedges is one of the most jacked up 411 cases I have ever seen. And if you've not heard of that case, check our episode on him out and then check out Missing 411, The Hunted on Amazon Prime. He is one of the featured stories in there, and it is crazy what he went through. You heard the pop of the top, and we tried one time to drink Foster's, and I just forgot how nasty that shit really is. And so I didn't even try it this time. And people from Australia think it's nasty too, so we're not hurting anybody's feelings down there in the penal colony. From one penal colony to another, since Georgia was a penal colony, there's no disrespect. It's just having fun with you blokes down there.
Are we talking about penises today?
Penal colony.
Oh, penal.
Not penis.
Okay, all right. I was like, I didn't read anything about penises when I was researching this.
I thought you said was doing murder.
Wait a minute. I didn't sign up for this.
Oh, man.
I don't know. In our podcast, we talk about homemade castration.
Yeah.
So,
or better yet, don't go near the river otters.
Please don't. Please don't.
Especially if you're dead.
Did you get that video?
Yes.
Did you see how big those are?
And the crocodiles, like, give them a big berth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these things surround this crocodile, and it's like snapping at him, and they're like sneaking up behind him.
They're going to hump him to death.
Yeah. Well, after he's dead. Whenever we finish eating, we're fucking it.
That's right. God. Oh, man. All right. That's all of the BS. So we're going to dive into this one. Corryn Veronica Ann Da Silva was born in Africa to Indian parents in 1963. She grew up in Uganda during the brutal reign of, and I'm going to butcher this, but forgive me, Idi Amin.
I like it.
Before her family moved to Australia in 1973 as refugees. Corryn excelled at the Rosemoyne Senior High School and studied law at the University of Western Australia, where she also became involved in the Christian youth movement. In her free time, she enjoyed watching Australian rules football. and she was a regular at boot scooting classes,
Oh,
which is in the States called Western line dancing.
that's how you probably meet your significant other.
I saw it coming, and I
At
did not take a drink of that.
at your annual family reunion.
Oh, we're not talking about Mississippi
No,
or Alabama.
or
South
upstate
Alabama.
New York, for that matter.
That's true. Oh, Lord. I never did say what we were drinking. I just said we weren't drinking Foster's.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm
Washing down his Chick-fil-A.
well, I'm choking down a Chick-fil-A sandwich with a lemonade, which has nothing to do. It could be old lemonade. It could be fermented. There may be some alcohol content to it. It's a little twangy.
Oh, man. We're going with the old tried and true Miller Lite. Because that's what was at the gas station, and I didn't have a lot of money.
It's fair. It's fair.
So anyway, back to the story. Corryn was an articled clerk with the Australian government's solicitor's office when she met her husband, Lloyd Rayney. He was a junior lawyer at the time. Now, there's a lot of different terms that the Australians use that basically we will try to correlate to what it is in the States, but together they built, her and Lloyd, a seemingly on the outside perfect life and respected separate senior legal roles and had two beautiful daughters. In 2007, Corryn was earning more than $200,000 a year.
Sugar mama?
Yes, as a Supreme Court registrar. Now, that is similar to a Supreme Court judge here in the state.
Oh.
Her name hit the front of the front page of the Western Australian newspaper when she presided over a bankruptcy proceeding against a real estate agent who swindled more than $500,000 from his clients.
That's a lot of money.
That'd buy a lot of Fosters.
It would be. It would buy a lot.
And
of
meat
Fosters.
pies.
And meat pies. And a didgeridoo.
Oh, me. Everything seemed like something out of a fairy tale. However, behind closed doors, you know we all got them skeletons in our closets. There were fractures, according to one article, that was ripping through the marriage. With Lloyd at one point spending 18 months on a work stint in the Caribbean while Corryn stayed in Perth with their children. How do I convince my wife
How
to
do
let
you
me go?
swing that deal?
18, a year and a half, you're in the Caribbean. Sorry, honey, I can't come home.
Shit, give me a week. I'll be good. 18 months?
After 18 days, I would be divorced.
Oh, no. I wouldn't leave the house. You'd be doing a podcast on how I disappeared. That's exactly what
Somehow,
happened.
his wife was in the States, and he fell off an island.
She killed him in self-defense. Shot him 18 times in the back.
With a 6-shot revolver. So by the middle of 2007, Corryn and Lloyd had basically become cohabitants of the same house. Although they were still living together in the same home with their children, rumors of infidelity, gambling, and property disputes swirled around Lloyd. Now we get into the last known day of Corryn's whereabouts.
Let's go. One more thing. If I married a woman that's making $200K a year, I won't even so much as fart in public to make her mad.
No.
I'm walking the line. Like, please
don't let me die. Please don't kick me to the curb. I'll lick the dishes clean.
If you want me to iron the clothes wearing one of those little feisty little aprons with nothing else, I'm doing it.
Assless chaps, whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, what an idiot this guy was. I mean, he wasn't too much of an idiot. He went to the Caribbean for 18 months on her dime.
I don't see how he swung that one. And here's my question. How, and we'll get into his profession, and he's kind of like a
mastermind criminal.
Well, that too, but a civil defense lawyer. But why do you have to travel from Australia to the Caribbean? First of all,
That is not a short trip.
no. And second of all, what case will take you 18 months to research on site?
I mean, this ain't the OJ murders.
No.
I mean, it's not that complex.
But this is similar to OJ in Australia, though.
It is.
Oh, Lord. All right. So the last time anyone saw Corryn was when she left her boot scooting class at Bentley Community Center about 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 7th of August of 2007. She had told several people she'd be meeting with her husband, Lloyd, at their home in Como to discuss financial information to do with their separation. She believed that he was gambling and having affairs, but was willing to stay with him for the sake of their children if he would come clean about his financial situation.
That ain't happening.
No.
It's not that.
She was in a good mood, according to people that were at her class, because he had been delaying this meeting for a while, but had promised that they were going to hash out the details that night. All right, so let's pause there for a second. We're in the age of you don't stay together for your kids.
No.
Because,
That's the worst thing you can do.
yeah, they already know, despite what you think, those kids know.
Yeah.
And it could be just something as, they picked up on the fact that you go to bed at a different time than mom or dad.
Our dad's gone 18 months to the Caribbean without
Fucking
us.
Caribbean. We're not
Son
even
of a bitch.
We're not even FaceTiming his ass.
He didn't even send me a $100.
You missed a birthday. You missed two
He
birthdays.
missed Christmas and birthdays.
18 months.
Yeah.
He could have missed two Christmases.
He could have.
You lazy bastard.
It's a genius.
Well, that's true. Alleged bastard.
Alleged
I'm sorry.
bastard, maybe.
Maybe.
Allegedly genius.
Maybe.
Status.
Yes. So, Corryn's oldest daughter had gone out to a concert with friends and was dropped off at home between 10:30 and 11 p.m. This is still August the 7th.
Did she go say men at work?
That would have been funny. Or the Eurythmics.
Or Midnight Oil? How do we sleep while the beds are... Oh, guys.
Oh, Lord. Now, here's the kicker. They let her go to a concert on a school night. There's no way. And I think I read somewhere the oldest one was 13 at this time. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm not dropping my 13-year-old off at...
A concert on a school night.
She ain't even going to Walmart.
No. Now, Lloyd invited the oldest daughter's friends in, but they said no because it was a school night and they had to get home. So the younger daughter had already gone to bed by the time the oldest one got home at 11. In the morning, the girls asked where their mom was at as they were getting ready for school. Lloyd said she must have gone into work early. Strike one.
Mm-hmm. Strike one.
He left messages on her work phone about picking up the kids from school.
Covering his tracks.
And sent an email about her missing their meeting the night before. You're going to email your wife?
Yeah.
Not call her and go, hey, where the
Yeah, you
are
can text her, bitch, we trying to get divorced.
Yeah.
Where you at?
You said you wanted this fucking meeting and I'm sitting here by myself.
Looking like a fool. I could be in the Caribbean right now.
I could be at a concert with my daughter.
Love Midnight Oil.
About 11:30 a.m., his office called while he was in court saying that Corryn's work had called asking where she was at because she had missed an appointment. Again, odd.
Every bit of it just smells
Fishy.
Something's fishy.
Yeah. After calling friends, colleagues, and family, Lloyd went to her office and asked for police to be present while he checked her calendar and email for clues about where she might be. Strike two.
He's being too careful.
So by 2:30 p.m., he was at a police station with his sister and Corryn's father to report her missing. So we're looking at, it's not been 24 hours, but there's just, we'll get into more of his story, but it's just odd behavior.
Everything is screaming, this dude is guilty.
As fuck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or AF, as the kids say.
Yeah. As the hipsters.
Yeah, it's all, everything, every arrow's pointing at something's fishy and he's involved.
Yeah, he's casting lines. So at 5:30 p.m., a detective arrived at the Rayney house to speak to Lloyd, the kids, and Corryn's sister, Sharon, along with her family. The detective asked about her wallet and passport, which both turned out to be missing. She didn't usually take her wallet with her to boot scooting classes. I can't say that without giggling.
But maybe to the Caribbean she did.
Yeah. I wonder if he took his. They looked for clues about whether or not she had actually been home the night before or during the day, but it did not seem like she had. So here's my question. they're saying that she doesn't take her wallet with her to her line dancing classes. Their laws must be different about driving
without an ID.
Yeah. Now I think the I don't think the place where she took classes was very far from where they lived. But my thing is the passport. What led detectives? Let me back up. I could see detectives asking where her wallet and passport were at if they thought she left the country.
Mm-hmm.
But why ask for it when they're at her house and you know she was last seen leaving a line dancing place where no one ever sees her with her wallet? That just seems strange to me.
You ever notice, like, not to jump off, but every single scenario in the stories that you guys cover and the ones that we've done before is always a botched investigation. Like it is synonymous with every missing person case. The investigation is completely botched. So this one doesn't surprise me.
No. And it's like, I mean, we've referenced it, but OJ, they fucking screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you're looking at this one, they get blinders on later, you'll see how they just become laser focused. And my thing is, when we talked about, what was it on the crossover with Welcome to Skidmore?
Oh, yeah.
About how it's just ridiculous. About how
you have so much blatant evidence against someone.
If you're in a small town, or I don't know how big Como is, but if you're in a small situation, call for help. Hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to screw this up.
Bring somebody in and get a different set of eyes on it. That's what you need. Yeah.
I don't know. It just amazes me. But anyway, so on the 15th of August, someone living on Kershaw Street in Subico, which is, I know that's not right, and I apologize, but reported that there was a car which might have been abandoned there. And that it either is abandoned and you know who it is, or it's abandoned and you don't know who it is.
Right.
So it turned out that this car was Corryn's, and it had been there for a few days. Coincidentally, her car was found across the street from Perth criminal barrister Mark Trowell's home, and two other well-known criminal lawyers also live on the street. Later, detectives discovered it had been there from about 2:30 p.m. on the night Corryn went missing. Now, she went, if I'm not mistaken, she went to class, after work? So somehow her car is there before she goes to class, which seems odd.
Doesn't make sense.
But people see her leaving class, so that I don't know about the timeline there. But anyway, her wallet was found inside on the back floorboard, and the contents pulled out and tossed around like someone was looking for something. Her boots from the line dancing class were also in the back seat. The car had an oil leak caused by damage to the transmission. It would have been making a horrible noise when it was driven and wouldn't have been able to go much further if the driver hadn't stopped. And from what I read, this is not your normal oil leak. This is gushing.
Yeah.
And it's so severe that basically police just turn around and follow it back. And they follow it to Kings Park, which is a large area of bushland and parkland overlooking the city center. It seemed to them that the transmission damage was from driving over a not fully lowered bollard. And a bollard is a sturdy, short, vertical metal post in front of a walk trail. And so the way it was described in one article is there's like 3 metal posts. They're probably yellow with the reflective tape. And I think the middle one will lay down mechanically so that like the parks can drive golf carts or whatever up through there. But the way they state is either someone had tried to lower it or it was raising up and her car drove over it.
Do you know what I got from that?
Nothing.
Well, actually, I think maybe somebody was going to go get rid of her body in that car, and they hit that thing, and they were worried they were going to be stranded out there in her car with her body in the car.
That's a good
So
point.
they got the hell out of there.
And then they only made it.
And they only made it that far.
Yeah,
That's what I
Look
gathered.
at you using the old noggin.
See, I don't use it on my podcast, but I'll use it on this one because this is serious shit we talking about.
Now, tucked away in the thick scrub just off a sand track, and the way this is described is for people in the U.S., basically this is just some natural underbrush. In the South, we call it bullshit and briars.
Yep.
And
privet hedges.
Yeah. And there's basically a sandy 2-track or old logging road, basically. And they unfortunately found Corryn in a small, what they describe as a bush grave. Now, the kicker is she was partially buried head first. And I know it's not funny, but all I can picture is like Scooby-Doo and somebody's feet's just...
No, what I picture is you got two guys standing there and going, I told you the goddamn hole wasn't big enough, stupid. Well, we don't got time to dig anymore. She's already in there.
Just leave her legs up.
Cover her up. We'll leave her ass showing so she can tell the world to kiss her ass one more time before she goes.
Geniuses right there.
Yeah.
Damn it, I told you she was 5'6", and you drove...
This hole's 3 foot deep.
3 foot, you idiot.
You just got enough for her shoulders to get in there.
I swear to God, this is the last time I asked you to help me bury a body. Oh, Lord. Although the location was hidden, it was not really remote. And so I kind of think, like, if you had been walking down that path, it's almost like a
walk trail, maybe? Like a nature trail?
A nature trail,
Yeah.
or a hiking trail, or maybe, something, back through a preserve or something like that. And I think if you walk that trail enough, you probably wouldn't have paid any attention to it.
Right.
And it's just, some undergrowth and stuff like that off to the side. But anyway, 100 meters from the entrance to the sand track, a place card printed with Lloyd Rainey's name on one side and in quotation marks, the Queen handwritten on the other was discovered. Now, this place card is believed to have come from a legal dinner held earlier in July. So you're looking at about a month and a half. So 6 weeks earlier, there was basically a dinner for a bunch of lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for the Francis Burt Chambers. Now, the Francis Burt Chambers is a type of barrister chambers, which is similar to a law office here in the States. And according to several attendees, the guests, mostly lawyers, played a game to guess the names of celebrities written on the back of the cards. It has been alleged that Lloyd Rainey had driven Corryn's car to the dinner that night, so the place card may have been left in her car. Kind of irrelevant, and you wouldn't have thought anything about it. It's kind of like if you went missing today and your receipt from Chick-fil-A's in there, they're going to make this huge deal. Well, he stopped at Chick-fil-A at 2:30 in the afternoon. Most people don't eat at 2:30. Well, that's because he was busy and he forgot to eat.
Yeah, and he was a little dizzy, so I had to get something in my body. But you
see what I'm saying?
That's the other thing too. There's so many big cases and like little small details are in the. What is it? What do they say? What is it saying?
The devil's in the details.
The devil's in the details. So there, sometimes those small things that people overlook are the things that actually find answers. And in some cases, like you just said, it probably had nothing to do with it.
No, I mean, there's probably stuff in my truck right now. If it fell out and I went missing later, they'd be like, what the hell is a receipt from 2015 doing in here? There's no telling what's in my truck. There's enough grass clippings in there. We could probably like resod an athletic field.
My truck inside, because I own a roofing company. I've got heavy black gloves, some nylon rope, and I've got some Gorilla Glue duct tape.
And it's prophylactic, are you?
And it's like, no. This is the tape, not epoxy.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I was like, I can only imagine. And I got a ball bat in the back seat. So I can only imagine if I got pulled over, like, what's this for?
So, totally hijacking this podcast, I have to tell this story because it made me think of this. So I worked with a guy after college. I was in between jobs, hadn't got a teaching job yet, down on my luck. And this old guy, he was an older friend of ours, and he always, like, if you were down and you needed a job, he always had work, and he's brilliant. He's funny as shit, too. But at the time, he was building automated control panels for carpet machines. So somehow he gets a job in Montezuma, Georgia. And for those of you not from Georgia, I don't know how to explain Montezuma. It's not really the armpit or the butthole of the state, but it is nothing. There is nothing in Montezuma, and it is 45 minutes from the interstate.
Is that space between?
It's south. It's more southwest than it is, but it's more south. I guess if you
No. Space between your balls and your butthole.
the taint.
Is that
It's
what
the
it would
taint
be?
of the
It's
state.
the taint of the state?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
They've got a Mennonite colony there that own a restaurant,
It's good food.
and they sing.
Really?
Yeah, while they serve you, and that is some of the best damn food. Like,
Huh.
it's better than Cracker Barrel.
Really?
Yeah. They got a Chinese place that we didn't
Don't
eat that.
try that.
Ain't eating a cat that night. They had it wasn't a 7-Eleven, but it was one of them gas stations that you're not quite sure you would put that gas in your car.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
We walked in, and they had a wash tub, a galvanized tub, Miller High Life 22 ounces for 75 cents. There may have been 30 of them things in there. And so the guy was like, he had already done the math in his head. He goes, how much for all the beer in the tub? He goes, well, I'd say the tub too, but that's my mama's. I had to keep it. And he goes,
He's for real?
yeah. He goes, I'll give you $20 for every beer in there. And he goes, I mean, it was uncomfortable how long the silence was. Like, he was trying to do the mental math, and he was like, okay, I think that's fair. So we stole beer.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
And so I was like, what are we going to do with these? He goes, I don't know. We just paid $20 for 30 22-ounce beers. We're going to drink them if we have to. And I was like, no, God, not High Life. No. We're in South Georgia and it's July. So anyway, we're down there pulling wire. We're rewiring alarms in a food processing plant. So we're in, and this is another reason I don't eat yams. If you food process yams, I cannot explain the disgusting smell that comes with that. It's awful.
Really?
Yeah. So we're having to get in the factory. We're having to get in between the catwalk and the tin roof, and we're having to run this wire. Again, it's South Georgia in July. It's 4,000 degrees. So and it's like a catwalk, so you have to crawl in there. You have to hop your ass up in the catwalk. And then you have to swing your feet up and then crawl on all fours to get. Well, when I swing my feet up, my ass shifts and I fall.
Holy shit.
Boom! And so, like, 1 second I'm up there in the dark looking down. The next thing I'm looking up at the dark, and there's this old guy. Hey, man, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I can barely breathe, but I'm okay. So anyway, we run out of wire. Well, the closest place is Macon. Yeah. And so, like, we're usually up at 5 trying to work like hell before it gets 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And so he's like, look, dude, I hate to tell you this, but we'll probably have to start working about 10 o'clock. And I'm like, it's supposed to be 95 by that time. He goes, I know. I'm going to go to Macon. I said, okay, fuck. And so he goes to Macon. He comes back. He's got the wire. And he's laughing his ass off when he comes in the hotel room. And I said, what'd you do? He said, well, you know how I was out of zip ties? And I was like, yeah. He said, well, after I got the wire, I stopped at Walmart. He said, we're going home tomorrow, right? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I bought 2 packs of 100 zip ties each. He said, I bought a roll of gray tape, which is duct tape. He said, and then, I've not seen the missus in a while, so I bought me some lube,
Oh, God dang.
and some rubbers. That's what he said.
Oh, my God.
And I said, please tell me that's not all you bought. And he goes, yep, that's it. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me
The
right now.
FBI's on the way.
And he goes, oh, man, you should have seen the look on her face. She said, honey, do you want these in separate bags? And he said, no, ma'am, they all going to get mixed up later.
God. Look, I swear to God, I had stopped at the Family Dollar and I had to buy some duct tape. And I'm standing in line and I'm looking and there's Twinkies on the shelf. And I'm like, man, I ain't had a Twinkie since I was a little kid.
God, I love them things.
So
man.
I grabbed some Twinkies and I set it up there with my duct tape. And the guy behind the counter goes, well, that's an interesting combination. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm on a date. Hurry up before she wakes up. I got to get out of here. And he's like, he's just looking at me like, and I never even cracked this fucking smile. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm on a date. Hurry up and get that shit in the bag before she wakes up. And he's just looking at me.
There may be a murder.
Yeah. What are you going to do with those Twinkies?
Well, I got to eat something when I tape her up. Shit, I might get famished.
I'm going to hide them. I'm going to hide my Twinkies.
I'm going to suck the cream out of them. Duct tape the end shut.
I always have nicknamed that dude Wolf Knives because he always had on all these rings with wolves on his fingers, and so I nicknamed him Wolf Knives.
That's awesome.
And what's up, Wolf Knives?
What's up, buddy?
He's like, look at me, I won a Halloween a contest at Halloween. I was Michael Myers.
Did you dress up?
He did, and he showed me the pictures. I was like, yeah, you look just like somebody that would
Kill somebody.
probably chase a single woman with a machete and kill her.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
We've hijacked this whole thing. It's okay. It's all
Reel
right.
it in. Reel it in.
Quick. All right, so back to the story. So a postmortem exam showed that Corryn had been killed by damage to the back of her head. She had a previously undiagnosed heart condition, and she had seed pods from a liquid amber tree. I guess that's how you say that. Probably not. It's probably something fucked up. But
Did
anyway,
this just turn into Jurassic Park?
I think so. These seed pods were stuck in her hair. So Corryn's cause of death was ambiguously described as, quote, consistent with neck compressions. It is possible that her neck was broken and there were markings to the front of her body and bruising on her back. State prosecutor John Aegis said that Corryn died as a result of head, neck, and brain injuries, and her injuries were of a nature that reflected, quote, intention to end life. A forensic medical expert has stated that he could not exclude that Corryn had been alive but unconscious when she was buried and then suffocated. Now, I found this highly unlikely.
Yeah, because they'd have to be dirt in her lungs or in her throat or in her nasal cavity.
And I think that would have been easily disproven or proven.
Yeah.
Either that dirt's there or it's not.
Right.
So now the odd thing is, it was noted in the forensic examination that she had a strange bruise on the tip of her tongue and a chipped tooth. The jokes just would roll in right here.
I know it. I digress.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to settle my hands on that one.
Yeah, me too. Bite my tongue. So Detective Sergeant Casilli stated that Corryn may have been dragged by the feet whilst on her back because her shirt was, quote, bunched up at the back. No evidence of a sex attack was uncovered, even though her belt was undone and her jeans were unzipped. But since her underwear wasn't disturbed, it was theorized she had not been sexually assaulted. But here's another thing. I don't know how you do things in Australia. There's a thing called, in the States, a rape kit.
Yeah.
And you can determine whether or not she was sexually assaulted. You don't have to theorize about it.
Right.
Oh, my God. But anyway. So later forensic analysis showed scrape marks on her boots, plus microscopic paint chips and soil in her bra straps. So now we get to the Rayney home. And what does the Rayneys have at their home? Liquid amber trees.
You guessed it. Liquid amber trees.
And now, supposedly, this is a very common tree in that suburb. But the kicker is, they ain't none of them in that there King's Park.
Right.
And the paint samples match the paving outside the home as well. Although the soil couldn't be ruled in or out and no drag marks were found when the property was searched 2 weeks after she went missing.
Do you think that's still going to be there in 2 weeks? No. It's going to rain. It's wet, no way. That's not going to be there in 2 weeks. Again, you got some pretty damning evidence right there on the body that's consistent with stuff around the home, and yet they can't make a determination.
But my thing is, you were there looking for her fucking wallet and her passport, and you didn't think to, look around
the house. Yeah. Yeah, that's...
I don't know. I mean, we could spend another podcast on how fucked up the police investigation was. But, again, I digress. So, basically, all in all, the evidence showed that it was pretty likely that she had made it home and was attacked in her front yard, and then she was taken back to the park.
Right. That's what I think.
But again,
she did make it to her meeting that she was supposed to be at.
Yeah. And here's the thing, going back to the bruised tongue and the chipped tooth, someone was telling me, no, wasn't telling me. I was reading, it was either on Web Sleuths or Reddit or one of those. somebody said that she could have, and this was pretty ingenious because I didn't even think about this, that either she had already been struck and like had just died, and as she was being drugged, as she's being drugged, her tooth is chipped, like bounces down on her tongue and chips her tooth, and that bruises it. Or right before she's killed and she's kind of unconscious as they're maybe throwing her in that grave,
she just bites her tongue and chips her teeth. Yeah.
But again,
you would have wondered if you should have bit the tip of her tongue off.
Right. Yeah. Because if you're unconscious, there's no way for you to. So that's an odd.
Yep.
That almost leads you to believe that someone knocked shit out of her.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, did they look and see if she'd get punched? That's the other thing.
And this is another thing. When we cover cases from other countries, it's hard for us to find the forensic. Like here in the States, it's not easy to find medical examiner reports, but it's easier for us to find stuff here than it is for me trying to find stuff in Australia. Now, I will say this. Miss Cody Ryan, who we gave a shout out to in the beginning of this podcast about the black cats, she has emailed us some information, and we'll probably come back to this, maybe a little follow-up, because I've still not read all of it. But she was saying that the case she felt like didn't get enough attention in Australia. Shout out to all of our Australians. I know that we give y'all a hard time about being a penal colony, but I have empathy for y'all. Y'all are on lockdown again. Hopefully you binge.
Same here, man. Good Lord.
Y'all binge all of Cigar Store Idiots podcast episodes and Mysterious Brews podcast episodes.
It will definitely help you get through your day.
Yes. And then we will take a world tour, and we'll come to Australia first.
You actually will. If you listen to Cigar Store Idiots podcast, you're going to sit in your house, and you're going to be in lockdown and quarantine, and you're going to hear a few episodes, and you're going to be like, man, my life's not so fucking bad. This guy's a complete idiot.
Man, they were talking about river otters, dolphins, and I just can't look at them the same anymore.
Now, we did interview Jason Ellis, so we're big fans of Jason Ellis. So, but yeah, I hope like Otto is saying, or Arlo is saying, Arlo.
Yeah, it don't matter.
We hope everybody is safe and healthy, and everything gets back on track for you guys soon, because I can't imagine.
I can't either. Cody had sent me some pictures of, she's on a coastal town down there, and it is absolutely gorgeous down there where she's at. And so I follow her back on Instagram, and I think she has an 11-month-old and a 3-year-old, or maybe a 2-year-old and 11-month-old. My prayers are with her.
Same here.
Because I can just imagine being stuck inside with both of them.
Nope.
We got some Benadryl.
Yes.
See this little pink liquid? I know it tastes a little good. We're going to take several naps today.
Who wants some bubblegum juice? That's what it is.
That's right.
Who wants some bubblegum juice?
Me. All right. So now we get into Lloyd Rayney.
All right. So looks like Lloyd Rayney rose through the ranks, becoming a senior prosecutor. And then a respected Perth barrister dealing with high-profile criminal cases and civil cases. Barristers mostly specialize in courtroom advocacy and litigation. Their tasks include taking cases in superior court and tribunals, drafting legal pleads, researching the philosophy, hypothesis, and history of law, and giving expert legal opinions. Lloyd Rayney was named the prime and only suspect in September 2007. Reasons for suspicion including his lack of cooperation to the police and the spiteful breakdown in the Rayney marriage, in the discovery with the seed pods in Corryn's hair, and with that same exact tree growing in the front yard like you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I don't understand. I mean, I know they kind of laser focused in on him, and they really didn't take into consideration anybody else, and we'll get into other suspects later. But right now, just from our standpoint and what we've told so far.
And how many ID channels shows I've watched.
Yeah. As I'm eating my Cheetos at 2 a.m, the fucking husband
did it. Let's run down the timeline of old Lloyd Lloyd's antics.
He didn't do himself any favors.
He did not. He kind of fucked himself. Lloyd is charged for unlawful interception of the landline telephone at his home, so he was wiretapping. Lloyd was also, December 8th, 2010, Rayney was charged with willful murder of Corryn. November the 1st, 2012, Lloyd is found not guilty of the murder he was charged at. Justice Martin found that the case against Mr. Rayney lacked logic and crucial evidence. No shit, the police botched it all.
Yeah.
Falling short of proving he murdered his wife. September 23rd, 2013, prosecutors lose an appeal against Lloyd's acquittal. May the 6th, 2015, Lloyd was found not guilty of arranging the unlawful interception of the telephone at his home. Gotta wonder where his friends were. You know what I mean? Who were his friends? And who was pulling these strings for him?
That's my question. And
Birds of a feather.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And I would love for more of our Australian listeners on either our podcast or yours to reach out to us and kind of help us out with the legal system. I tried to do the best I could trying to figure it out, but down there, is it like it is here in the States? I mean, if you're part of a law firm, they're going to take care of your
Yeah, you're getting took care of. Yeah. Let's even go to March 1st. We all knew this was coming. 2017, Lloyd begins a defamation trial against the state, seeking $11 million in lost earnings and compensations for his aggravated damages, for the distress and anxiety he and his family suffered, and a judgment has not yet been delivered.
And it may have by now, but I, again, reached out to Cody. We're just going to make Cody an honorary host from Down Under. She is awesome when I ask questions about anything in Australia.
Awesome.
But I had reached out to her, and so when we try to, just on the Wikipedia page about Corryn, there are a ton of articles, but when we click on it here in the States, I get the old error 404, that article's not found. And so she was and is in the process, by the time you hear this, she's researching it more for us. And so this could be a follow-up episode. And we may do that the next time we get together and just hit some high points, because I know there's been some updates in some other cases, and so we can hit some of our high points on this case, the other couple of cases, and just kind of call it a recap show. But anyway, the decision may have already been made. I just couldn't find.
We just don't have the information
right
in front of us. Yep.
Yeah. So, and before we get into the actual trial and the appeal, Ding-a-ling Lloyd taps his own phone. I don't see where that's unlawful if you tap your own phone.
I don't either. It's kind of like when you're in like if you're doing construction and you have to get in the States, you've got to get a permit. But if the homeowner does the work themselves, then the contractor can do the work and not have to get a permit.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense why he would tap his own phone and why that would be illegal if he did.
And my thing is, are you tapping your own phone? Is it a process where, I know they were about to go through a divorce. Are you trying to figure out if she's talking to someone, or is it as innocent as you've got a teenage daughter and she went to this concert? Are you trying to figure out if something happened?
I think maybe, and here's me trying to be the criminal here, maybe before he decided to kill her, he was going to try to find some evidence of her stepping out on him. So that way he could take, he would show favor in the courts, because the adulterer is always punished. And if you can prove that in court, the adulterer is always punished, whether it's a male or female. So maybe that was his well, if this don't work out, I'll just kill the bitch. So maybe that's kind of how.
And he just didn't find anything.
He couldn't find anything, yeah.
Well, see, another thing, I guess I'm just thinking about my situation. I'm not making $200,000 a year. And if she was, this podcast would be a hell of a lot better.
No doubt.
But
we'd have chimpanzees in tuxedos walking around
serving beer,
serving alcohol.
In my situation, we both make nearly the same. But I'm thinking, hell, they're both probably bringing in close to the same. He's a barrister, and from what I could gather down there, he's making probably $200,000.
Oh yeah, somebody somewhere's going, see, money doesn't buy you happiness. Maybe not, but have you ever seen a sad motherfucker on a jet ski? Not me.
Not me either.
You got to have some money to buy one of those.
But like the old country song, it'll buy me a boat
That's right.
and a truck to pull it.
And you know what he should have did? He should have found somebody that could fucking dig a deeper hole.
No shit.
Idiot.
It could be like that guy that you referenced in Louisiana. I'll give you 19 gold bars.
Yeah.
All y'all got to do is kidnap her.
Just kidnap her and I'll do the rest. Next thing you know, you got 2 dead people.
And your wife is soon to be ex-wife.
Singing like a canary.
Yep.
Because she ain't dead. I actually rethought that whole story. I actually think that guy probably was going to have her killed. Like he was going to kill her. He wasn't going to rescue her. He was going to kill her. Going to have those 2 fucking dummies just couldn't kill her. They killed themselves trying to swim in a swamp.
Dumbasses.
In Louisiana.
Not smart, boys.
Yeah,
not smart.
So yeah, usually when these people have these ingenious ideas to get rid of their loved ones over insurance money or what have you, well, they're not the smartest group of people. They're smart. They just don't have any common sense.
That's the thing. You've got to. I don't know.
I
may incriminate myself.
This guy's falling in the same lines of being too smart for his own good and not having any common sense.
Yeah, I mean,
are you gonna kill if you're gonna kill somebody and get rid of them, are you gonna do it at your house?
That's what I don't understand.
Where you have distinct paint, distinct trees. Are you gonna kill them with a tree out of your yard? Oh man, come on.
I don't know, man.
Take her deep sea fishing.
Yeah. Like Dexter.
Yeah.
Way her down in the Gulf Channel.
Yeah. that's fish food.
Yeah.
Nobody's finding that.
I'm not saying that I've ever thought of it.
Just hypothetically
speaking, if I was going to get rid
allegedly.
of All right, so here's how fucked up this is. I was in high school and we decided that we could come up with a perfect murder. I've had way too many of them. Perfect murder.
Perfect murders.
We said that you'd get a single shot pistol like a Derringer and then claim that he was attacked or she was attacked. Take the murder weapon, melt it down into an ashtray. See where I'm going?
I like it.
And then,
hypothetically
speaking,
this could work.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm a criminal mastermind by no means, and I'm not saying that I want to go kill someone. I'm just saying that if I was in a position where he had 18 months in the Caribbean, you would think we might have thought this out a little bit better.
He had plenty of time to think it over before he came on and actually executed it.
Yes. Now, there was an article I read, and before we get into the trial and the appeal and stuff, there was an article that I read that said that while on the surface, Lloyd looks great for this murder.
Mm-hmm.
Because either A, he's a bumbling dumbass, or he just has shit luck.
Right.
He didn't do himself any favors with the making sure a cop was at her office and telling her kids that, oh, well, mommy, I guess went to work early. You either know
you know where your spouse is.
Yeah. Whether you're sleeping in the same bedroom or not.
Yeah, y'all have that conversation.
But the time frame, when you break it down, the time frame, he doesn't have a lot of time to like pull this off if he did it.
Right.
I don't know.
That's why I think it's so sloppy.
Because he's rushed. But the thing is, like, if we're looking at the oldest daughter, it's kind of like one of those things where you come up with a theory. I know who did it, and then you verbalize it, and you're like, well, fuck, that doesn't work because it doesn't take into consideration this. When I was thinking about it,
you get out your map, your string, and your Post-it notes.
Yeah. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, he had plenty of time. The oldest daughter went to the concert. She's at boot scooting classes. Well, I didn't take in consideration what the fuck you going to do with the younger daughter. Mm-hmm. So there's the monkey in that plan. Well, then...
Just give her the bubblegum juice.
Right.
That's what you do.
And then if you wait until the oldest daughter comes home, have you somehow snuck out, your youngest daughter don't know, you either knocked her out, killed her, and she's in the back of your car.
Yep, she's in the trunk.
And then the oldest daughter
was that ever even looked at?
Probably not.
I mean, come on.
And then, so your oldest daughter comes home, you invite her friends in as kind of an alibi, so that's 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then after that one goes to bed, you sneak out and take the body and dig your... See, there's just, like, you can kind of fit it. It almost fits, and then there's this, like, outlier, and you're like, well, fuck, does it really? I mean, could he have done it in 30 or 45 minutes? I don't know. I didn't figure out the distances, and I'm hoping... Cody can come up with some of that stuff for us. But I mean, I like it. I like him a lot for being a dumbass and not doing it. But, the police just...
Well, let's think about this, too. Let's think about the professions that they're both in. And she's put several people in jail. Like, she's like a superior court judge in the United States. So there's been several people that's been put in jail. She's sentenced. So you got maybe upset family members or somebody that's coming up on trial that is definitely going to, there's those things you look at. And then taking a look at Lloyd, the same scenario situation is he's surrounded with these people that, hey, man, if you don't want to go to jail this long,
here's what
I can work a deal out with you, but I need you to do this for me.
Yeah, I mean that makes
there's
total sense.
two other huge components, different, looking at what she did for a living and people that maybe be jealous or upset or angry at her for putting a loved one in jail. Or you got this guy who just runs with criminals, thick as thieves, and somebody didn't want to go to jail for a very long time, and he made a deal with them and got rid of her. But I still think they were going to drive that car deep into that park.
And just didn't wait long enough.
They hit that thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Either they didn't wait long enough
for it to go all the way
down. Or they
waited
too long and it was coming back up.
Yeah. And then they were in a situation where, well, we're here, this car's leaking oil, we got to get rid of this body. While the shallow grave didn't have time to dig a big enough hole because they were afraid the car was going to probably stall out there and not be able to drive it. There's
the other thing that I want to know is, was the car ever forensically looked at?
That's a great question because they had to haul her body somehow, and I guarantee it was in the fucking trunk.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just, this is some of the downfalls when we do cases from other countries. It's just you don't have...
And that information may be out there.
It may be.
We just can't find it.
Yeah.
And I apologize for, if it's out there and I haven't seen it.
And that's why I kind of want to do a follow-up episode on this because I feel like we are going to get some feedback, some good feedback on this episode. And I really do think, with Cody being locked down, she's going to help us out a lot. So, but anyway, let's get back into the case and the trial and the appeal. After 3 years, Lloyd was charged with murdering his wife, Corryn, kind of like Rob had said. And then there was another long wait as one of his clients, Gina Reinhardt, tried to get all details of her work with him suppressed from media coverage of the trial. Gina, what the hell did you two do?
Yeah, what does she know?
Yeah. There was a lot of wrangling over which of his home and office files were protected by legal privilege. Well, anything in his home office, I feel like in the States would have been like off limits.
I think if it's a murder investigation, I think it supersedes. They can subpoena any of that.
No, well, that's true. Yeah,
I think they could take any bit of information. I don't know how he was able to secure anything where it wasn't made public in a murder investigation.
Eventually, Lloyd got a judge-only trial in 2012. Now, I'm going to stop here. For people in the States, look, I know y'all are like, you walk through Walmart sometimes and you're like, holy shit, these fucking people are allowed in public. Well, guess what? Those same fucking people get jury duty.
Yeah.
Are you really, when the shit hits the fan, and let's say in this case, Lloyd is 100% innocent and he's getting railroaded by the cops. Are you going to put your fucking life in the hands of 12 dumbasses? Nope. I want a judge-only trial. I want them to give you the evidence. That way, you are professional enough. If I tell y'all this is excluded, I'm not going to take this into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I only have to convince one man or woman of my innocence or my guilt.
Right.
So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen, and we've said this 100 times. Don't ever agree to take a polygraph test if the cops ask you to. And second of all, when you are arrested for anything and they start questioning you, the first word and the only word out of your mouth is lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give it. There's many people. There's 3 young men who sat on, 2 of them sat life in prison, and one was on death row in Arkansas because the prosecutor took a knife to an orange and said, it sure does look like them wounds. I mean, there was no evidence those guys killed those 3 kids. There's plenty of people out there that got railroaded. Give yourself a
fighting chance.
Yeah, don't handicap yourself before it even gets started.
Mm-hmm.
So at least Lloyd was smart in that situation. Now, there was no jury, so that way there was no prejudicial news about every part of the story. The judge was Brian Martin, which was brought in from the Northern Territory because everyone in Western Australia legal community knew everyone involved and especially had intimate ties to the Rayneys. Now, Judge Martin acquitted Lloyd on charges of willful murder and manslaughter, and he had some very harsh words for the police in the case and seemed unimpressed by the prosecution's argument. The state governor appealed the decision, but the court, this time a 3-judge panel of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, upheld Judge Martin's original decision. Then there was more legal wrangling because police had charged Lloyd with phone tapping earlier but waited until the murder trial was over to proceed with that case in court. He was acquitted of knowingly breaking surveillance laws. So I guess there are some different laws down there.
I guess so.
Then Lloyd turns around and sues the police for defamation over the, quote, prime and only suspect announcement and won. He didn't get the damages he wanted, though, so that's still kind of ongoing. But the Legal Practice Board of Western Australia canceled his law certificate over the phone tapping incident, and after appeals back and forth, he is currently not practicing law. He's also sued for defamation against a forensic scientist for remarks made at a conference, a publisher over implications made about him in one chapter of a true crime book, and some of Corryn's own family for comments they made to the media on the day he was acquitted of murder.
Shit, he's coming after us.
He may be. We
He's gonna
said
come after us.
allegedly.
Allegedly, this happened.
Yes, allegedly. I don't like you, Lloyd, for it. I really don't. I don't think you had time.
I read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas to my kids every year, but I don't fucking believe that guy comes down my chimney.
No.
I'm just reading the story here.
I just want to know, if you listen to this, Lloyd, please contact us and let us know how the hell you sold 18 months in the Caribbean.
That's all I want to know. That's the real crime.
Yep.
It's how you
got
pulled
away
that
with
off
that.
and you stayed married.
Yes.
How did that shit?
And you didn't share that.
It's as easy as committing murder.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry.
All right, so let's get into the other
Whodunits. You're looking at Ivan Eads, a convicted sex offender whose DNA was on a cigarette butt found on the verge of the Rayney home. Okay. You got Alan Laco, I guess, Eads' cousin, also convicted sex offender. Those guys didn't have much.
That family tree was
Probably straight.
I wonder if they were touching each other.
Probably touching tips. Described as one of the most violent offenders in Western Australia.
London
On the
Bridge is
day,
falling down.
on the day Mrs. Rainey's body was found, Mr. Laco was arrested driving a car with sand in the boot.
Which is the trunk over there.
And had injuries to his face and hands. His car and clothes were not examined by the Rayney investigation team. Well, I mean, he could have paid these two fuckers to do it. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't you go get 2 child molesters?
Yeah. I mean, they got zero moral compass. They don't care. And
19 gold bars.
I was about to say, all from 19 gold bars, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, I did it right now. In 2009, a retired detective traveled across the country to interview Laco, who since removed from New South Wales. A search for his home found a map of Kings Park, a copy of the layout with the Supreme Court where Corryn worked, a page of a calendar from August 2007 when she was murdered. Laco maintained the calendar wasn't his, that he once worked at Kings Park and had a copy of the court layout because he had, quote, an interest in the building. Laco also used to sell drugs to the Bentley Community Center where the car was parked, where Corryn was last seen. The acquaintance claimed Laco once asked him if he could drive a car for me while I dump a body in Kings Park.
The police we don't need that information.
We don't need that. Nah, that's just
bullshit.
hearsay. We don't want it.
He's full of shit.
He's full of shit.
He's high, Ricky.
He's high, Ricky, and he's looking at kids. The acquaintance said it was approximately 4 weeks before Corryn's disappearance, and as they drove towards the city, Laco turned to Kings Park and said, there's a body gonna be in there. There's a body gonna be in there. That's what he said. In his statement, his acquaintance also said later that about Corryn's death, he knew straight away Laco was responsible, and Laco denied any involvement in the murder.
He did.
Because he's not going to say, okay, y'all got me. The brush between the car and the grave showed no indication of the victim having been dragged, so presumably she was carried to her grave. There's a speculation of a sexual motive owing to the victim's shirt being bunched up and her jeans being open, but oddly, there was no evidence of her being raped. They felt there was no need to investigate it any further. Heaven forbid he raped her and pulled her pants up for her, because it was easier for him to carry her with her pants up. There doesn't seem to be enough significance attached to the presence of the victim's purse in the car. It doesn't seem unlikely that the victim would have taken it with her, and likely that she planned on returning home after dance. If Rayney himself had killed Corryn, surely they would have wanted all the evidence to support her never having returned at all, which would include that her purse remained at home. If someone else had done it, they had to go into the house to specifically fetch and risk getting caught, fetch the purse and risk getting caught by the kids. While there were blood stains both in the boot, which is the trunk, you just told me, and the rear seat, it's never explained to anyone.
So there's the answer to my question.
They did investigate. They did look in the car.
But they didn't do any forensics.
They didn't do any forensics.
What the fuck?
There seems to be a minimal opportunity for the victim to have been dragged into the car even once, let alone twice. There's no reason to the selection of formal knowledge of the gravesite and its accessibility to the car, nor the acknowledgement that the grave could have been dug in advance.
By the two touchers.
By the two tip-touching cousins. My suspect would be, number one, violent offenders who live in the area.
Touchers,
cousin tip-touchers. Police questioned known offenders and ruled them out, but it was possible someone was new to that kind of thing. Yeah, obviously. In support of any idea is that she was sexually assaulted. If someone was planning that and accidentally killed her, they may have panicked and made stupid decisions. Thus the situation with the car.
Yeah.
Against that theory is to bury the body in Kings Park and try to dispose of the car is pretty elaborate for someone who hadn't meant to kill anyone that night. Alternatively, the police may have ruled out someone more experienced than they should have. Like the two tip-touchers cousins.
Tip-touching cousins.
Someone with a grudge against her. And that's what we were talking about with her
earlier, yeah.
Earlier, yep. Police did investigate this angle, but didn't come up with much. Someone lying in wait outside of her home and attacking her seems plausible, but when they hid the body, they tried to hide it in the car. I mean, it doesn't make sense. A husband or lover.
And that's where the police went. They went with the husband. And 95% of the time, that's the first person.
Always the person knows. The person usually always knows the person that kills them.
And I listened to a podcast about the West Memphis 3, and they were like, in any FBI high-profile thing, you start zero focused in on the significant other, and then you work your way out.
Mm-hmm.
You start with that inner circle. And so that's my thing. They just locked in on him, and they didn't talk. And they just kind of threw away stuff. They didn't let I feel like in this situation, and it may not be true, but I feel like in this situation, they kind of zeroed in on him and they tried to make the evidence fit that situation. They didn't let the evidence kind of carry them.
Right.
They didn't forensically investigate the car. They didn't, it doesn't seem like, now it may not be, but it doesn't seem like there was a rape kit done to see if she was.
There's no mention of it.
Yeah. And so they did question a man Corryn had a flirtation with, but ruled him out. They spoke to a woman that Lloyd had an affair with a few years earlier, but when a woman is murdered while she's in the process of leaving her partner, it's very common for the partner to be the killer. Duh. The attack had happened in their front yard. That's what I feel like. I really do think she was attacked right there.
Same here.
I think she had got home.
And they jumped her when she came home from
and they took her car. Yeah, and it's almost one of them, like the windowless panel van.
Yep.
There's a van in the neighborhood. They see her. They slide the door open. The guy gets out, knocks her in the tooth, bruises her tongue,
chips her tooth,
dumps her in her own car, turns around and leaves. I know that doesn't really take in consideration the wallet and stuff, but here's the way I kind of like rule out the wallet. What if she had planned to go and buy something after she left her line dancing class. So she would have taken her wallet then.
Right.
And again, like we were talking about, like if I fell off the earth and there's a receipt from 2015, they'll be like, well, he was saving a receipt from 2015.
How many times have you left the house without your wallet in your pocket?
Oh, shit, I went drinking one night and I was like, my beard's gray.
Do you need my ID?
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to chance.
She could have very well just left her stuff.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, that's what I don't know, man.
This is what I think. I think that her husband 100% commissioned these two guys, these two cousins, to take care of his dirty work. And they did attack her when she came home from line dancing, and that very much so attacked her, hit her in the back of the head with that tree, drug her, threw her in the trunk of her own car because there's blood in the car, blood in the back seat, because they probably took the stick they hit her in the head with, threw it in the back seat, took her to the Kingsland Park, was going to drive deep into the park and bury the body, hit that stop, which busted the oil.
And that's why the grave was shallow.
That's why the grave is shallow, because they had to hurry up and get the body buried as quick as possible and get the car out of there. And then the car stalled out on them because the oil ran out. And then they just ran off.
Well, see, and Lloyd did have betting accounts that he didn't tell Corryn about, and Ann had been secretly recording her conversations with him and other people trying to get her, like you said, so that he could be favorable in the divorce proceedings. Now, I'm not saying the police shouldn't have tried to investigate him. I just think they should have done their due diligence to rule everybody else out. Like, you could have easily taken the Tip twins and figured out their whereabouts.
Yeah, and you could have also figured out what ties to any crimes they had committed.
Did they ever cross paths with
court
him?
records?
Yeah.
To see what he was involved in, what he wasn't involved in. Upcoming proceedings, anything like that. But I think that he's a catalyst. I think he set this whole thing in motion, and he uses those two dullards to act his crime out, and he fucking got away with it.
Well, I do like him for this. I really do. I think the timeline makes more sense now that we kind of verbalized it if a third party's involved, because he doesn't have to leave the house.
Right. He didn't have to leave the house at all.
So he has the alibi with his younger daughter. He could he could have made sure that she was in the back of the house and they were doing something when he knew
what time. He knew what time she was coming home.
Yeah.
The older daughter's not going to be here.
No, I don't have to worry about her till 10:30, 11, and by then she's buried and gone.
Yeah. Or your mom just went to work early.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. If you're innocent, you don't make that fucking
You don't make
statement.
those assumptions and statements.
And then here's my thing. God forbid something happens to my wife, and I wake up and she's not home.
I'm looking for an ashtray.
You are now. Everybody that knows me is looking for an ashtray. I wake up and she's not home. First of all, I don't know if I could have fallen asleep.
No way. I'll be looking for her.
There's like 25 missed calls on her. That's my thing. I've got 20. I called her phone 37 times between the hours of When my son gets up, I may not tell him the truth, but I sure as fuck ain't gonna tell him she's going to work.
I'm on the phone immediately with the police and anybody and everybody that she's close to.
Yeah.
Where's she at? I've called her 30 times.
Yeah.
It's so and so o'clock. She's not home. This is not like her.
She was going to work. Let's just say
calls.
she was going to work out.
Yeah.
And she's not home. Well, she's an adult. She has that right. I don't give a shit.
Did they state she did come to the dancing class though?
Yeah, because they
did
said,
see her there.
Somebody at the dance class said that she had
followed her home.
That's my thing. I think they were waiting on her there.
They stalked her the whole time.
And I don't know what, I don't know. It said it was August, so they would be in the middle of winter. So that's why the seed pods would be there. So I don't know, man. I like that theory with he may have paid someone. Yeah. And it's just not been tied back to him.
That's what I think. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about how fucked up the police were, I mean, I don't know if Western Australian police and people, please help us out if this is the case, but I feel like that's like almost like Arkansas and Louisiana. If you want to kill someone in the United States, go to them two states.
Yeah, because it's going to be hard to find any evidence, a body or anything.
Because Jimmy Joe, that was a quarterback back in 73, he's now the sheriff, and he don't know what the fuck he's doing.
No.
And I feel like
he's getting free donuts and blowjobs.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
That'd be a hell of a business.
Blowjobs and donuts. Dick's Donuts. If you
Dicks
like
and
Dick's.
donuts. Oh, wait.
You'll love that.
Wait, I'm probably not going there.
Well, you know who
I'm opting out.
You know who the hero of The Office is, don't you?
Yes.
He carries 2 cups of coffee and 12 donuts. You know who the heroine is? She can eat the last donut.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we've kind of just wrapped that whole thing up in a nice, neat little bow, but
there's got to be more to it, so we need you guys to help us out.
there definitely has to be more to it. We just can't find the information. And so we're waiting on bated breath for Cody to get back to us. Anyone in Australia or New Zealand, for some reason, I know that our podcast is 3 years old, but I just now realized there's comments on our. You can have comments on Castbox and Stitcher, and so I found those today, and like 2 and 3 years old. This podcast is awesome. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should respond to that.
Yeah, I know. I'm still a dummy. I'm still looking at trying to find stuff that maybe I'm just wishful thinking we get good comments or reviews.
Well, doing recommendations, my recommendation will be twofold, because I know I don't ever hit up Rob and tell him he needs to come up with a recommendation. But I will say, my one recommendation is listen to Rob's podcast, Cigar Story Idiots. My second recommendation is look into this case. There's not a lot out there. And like I reached out to Cody earlier in the day and was talking to her, and she feels like that the case doesn't get enough attention in Australia. And so, it's kind of one of those kind of groundswell situations where, if you are in Australia or New Zealand and you get enough people talking, maybe, you can
reopen a case.
Yeah. Or get on Web Sleuth.
It happens.
I know there are Web Sleuth pages. You can create a new Web Sleuth page and just get people talking about this case. And surely to God, somebody will.
I'm curious to see what the two cousins.
That's my thing.
I want to see what they're doing now and how their financial situation has changed.
Like in the States, I would have researched these shit out of them two dumbasses. Yeah. I would have found arrest record. I would have paid the $4.95 to get
all that information. Yeah,
that's my thing. But you don't. It's just.
Are they living a little better than they normally do?
That's
That's what I'd like to know.
Yeah. Was there a upcoming situation where they were on probation and they're now off?
Did somebody get a used purple PT Cruiser with flames on it?
Tinted windows,
blaring some Men at Work, super loud. No shit. Look.
I'm going to die. I just got choked.
Look, when I interviewed Jason Ellis, we did it's one's got to stay, one's got to go. Like rapid fire questions, and I was like, one's got to stay, one's got to go. Midnight Oil or Silver Chair? He's like, Midnight Oil definitely. I'm like, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Out where the river broke. Sorry.
Oh man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the case of Corryn Rayney and her husband Lloyd, who allegedly has something to do with it. But
please don't sue us.
Yeah, please don't, because we don't have any money.
We'll come over here and get you some.
If you spent 18 months in the Caribbean, you come on down to Georgia.
Come on down to Georgia. Come down to 408 Broad Street.
Yeah. I got a place for you.
In the back.
Hopefully people will enjoy this. Let us know. Give us some feedback. Reach out to Rob. He's at Cigar Story Idiots podcast. He's at CS
Idiots podcast on social medias. Yeah.
Because
Facebook and Instagram won't allow us to say cigar because they don't believe in the use or the sale of tobacco products. But you can buy teenage girls, preteen lingerie on Wish, which they advertise on Facebook. Fucking morons.
Idiots. Again, our hearts and prayers go out to the people of Australia and New Zealand in the current lockdown situation.
Keep fighting a good fight, people.
That's right. Fight the good fight. Make your own bows and arrows. I know y'all gave up the guns a long time ago, but hey, there's other ways to get things done.
And I know didgeridoos are huge, so you can beat the fuck out of somebody with one of those. And then, blow it in their face after it's all over. You know.
Just go get the Australian rules football team.
Go get the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And handle your shit.
Exactly.
Hit the wild haka in the middle of the
That's
street.
right. Y'all do the haka in the middle of the street. We may do a haka here.
I'm on a haka in my toilet because Chick-fil-A sandwich is getting some revenge.
She's burbling. Well, man, I appreciate you helping me out again.
Thank you. I enjoy it.
I do too, man. Y'all have a wonderful Labor Day weekend coming up, and deuces.
Later.